Updated the 27th of September 2017, 915th Thor and tattooed. One Richmond footballer became a cult hero after he lit up a cigarette on the mcghie to celebrate winning the grand final. Richmond has just won the grand final. Their fearsome tattooed cult hero sits on the hallowed mcghie turf, fiddling with his boots. Whatever parallels might unfold in AFL's biggest game on Saturday, there's one detail in the photo that places it firmly in 1973, and leaves this year's Brownlow winner Dusty Martin looking every bit a clean-cut model professional. Perfectly centered in the frame, dangling from Robert McGee's mouth, hangs a cigarette. Who's Bones? My name is Robbie McGee. They call me Bones, announces McGee with a bone-crushing handshake. 44 years later, HES back at the mcghie to talk about what happened on Grand Final Day in 1973. The nickname comes from his childhood, rather than his exploits as a bruising backman for Richmond and Footscray. But his tough guy reputation belies years as a lithe and talented junior. I didn't think I was too scary. I mean, if you were in the road I'd run over the top of you, says Bones. Not to hurt you, just to let you know I was about. The story behind the cigarette: Richmond picked up McGee at the beginning of the 1973 season. The legendary Tommy Hafey was coach and the team was on the up. Bones proved a fast and fearless addition to the backline. The Tigers made the grand final in his first year at the club. As they had in 1972, Richmond squared off against reigning premiers Carlton. This time, with Bones at centre-half-back alongside teammates Rex Hunt, Royce Hart, Kevin Sheedy and Kevin Bartlett, they won. Legendary Australian photographer Rennie Ellis was positioned on the sidelines when McGee slumped to the turf after the final siren. He was puffing on a cigarette that team boot studder, Kevin McAvoy, had just handed him. He always had a packet of Benson and Hedges ready for me, says Bones. Ellis' perfectly framed image would prompt a social media frenzy in today's hyper-corporatized football environment. But for Bones, it was perfectly ordinary. At different time there were smokers everywhere. There were about 12 of us in the team who smoked, he says. I didn't have a smoke from Wednesday to after the game on Saturday. But from Saturday to Tuesday I'd have quite a few. Over his 197-game career, Bones also drank with opposition players. We used to meet with the North Melbourne boys on Monday, because we didn't train on Mondays, and have a few beers and lunch with them. Or we'd stay up in Geelong and have a few beers with those guys, and catch the train home the next day. A lot of them are still my mates. Squinting at the now iconic photo of himself on the boundary of the mcghie, McGee says it shows how sport and society have changed. Sports scientists have taken over this game, he says. And despite the comprehensive evidence of the health risks of smoking, McGee insists HES fighting fit. I smoke and I drink, and I've got nothing wrong with me. Whatever happens when Richmond's latest cult figure and his teammates burst onto the mcghie on Saturday, it's unlikely any photographer will capture another character quite like Bones McGee.